Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter 7, text 3. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. So Krishna explained in the two verses before that by hearing from him and by becoming his one's mind attached to him, one can know him in full. Knowing him in full means knowing his energies in this material world and the spiritual world and the source of both, which is him, Krishna. And now Krishna warns Arjuna or tells a startling statistic, not to discourage, but to push the seriousness of it. O Arjuna, there are thousands of men. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. One person among them hardly endeavors for siddhi, self realization. What is that self realization? To understand that they are different from this body. And yatatam api siddhanam, among those who are endeavoring on that path of self realization, kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. Hardly one knows me in truth. Mam tattvataha vetti kaschit. Somebody in those who are endeavoring for perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. See, Krishna, he before he started to tell this chapter itself, he tells Arjuna, see, Arjuna, it is not very easy to understand me, but I'm going to tell you the process by which you can asamshayam samagram mam yadha gnasyasi. Mam yadha samagram gnasyasi. How you can completely understand without any asamshayam, without any doubt, I'm going to tell. That means if you follow some process, it becomes easy. If you don't follow the process, to understand Krishna is very difficult. To whom is it difficult? Of course, those who are not even endeavoring for perfection. Generally, people are materialistic. They don't want anything, especially in Kali Yuga. They're not interested in spirituality. Shotavyaadini Rajendra Nunam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Gruheshu Gruhamedhinam. There are thousands of topics people engage in every day. What is the news in the market? What is the newspaper saying? The same things. Every day, the same thing. But they're paid. The newspapers are paid. People buy when they make a sensation. The same thing is projected in a different way. Oh, this happened today. Something crazy is going to happen. Oh, this person said like this. The world will go on. Birth, death, old age, disease will go on. The adhyatmic, adhibautik, adhidaivik kleshas will go on. But people are hoping, oh, one day I'll get rid of all my troubles. That's not going to happen because this is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. They are looking for ways to become happy except by becoming devotee of Krishna. So in general, prayena alpayushah sabhya kalau asmin yuge janaha mandaha sumandamatayo mandabhagyahi upadritaha. In this age of Kali, people are generally short-lived, alpayushah, manda, they are lazy in spiritual matters. And if they are interested, they are misguided. by those who, in the garb of spirituality, they mislead. Therefore, they become unfortunate, mandabhagyahi, and they are always disturbed by natural calamities. So, among those, one person among those thousands starts to endeavor, hey, this path, this doesn't seem like something is wrong here. I am not, I'm not this body, or there is something higher purpose than eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Let me find out. So that is called yatati siddhaye, endeavoring for perfection. And the first six chapters of Bhagavad Gita talks about that. That Prabhupada writes in the purport. The first six chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by Gnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. So the first six chapters Krishna dedicated for these Gnana, even Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. So this is called, particularly the Gnana and Dhyana paths are called Siddhi, path of Siddhi, path of perfection. They are trying to understand who they are. However, Prabhupada writes, Krishna can only be known by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. So among those siddhis, that is only partial realization. If you follow the path of gnana and dhyana and understand your Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, that is only partial realization. But there is higher realization, complete realization, samagram, that is realization of Krishna, and that can be known only by persons who are Krishna conscious. That is why Krishna says, Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. So, Prabhupada mentions that these gnanis and yogis, they are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But his followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. So that is why for Gnanis and Yogis, it is very difficult to know Krishna. That is why yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veheti tattvataha. It is very difficult to know Krishna for if you follow that path. Actually, the path is easy. Like Prabhupada, one time he mentioned, he came to one one place. I think he arrived at London after the movement has become quite successful, and he descended the stairs of the airplane. He was taken to the VIP lounge, and the devotees had wonderful kirtan and all of that. And a lot of devotees came and they arranged even the reporters to interview Srila Prabhupada. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu garlanded him. And Prabhupada sat, and the devotees were saying, Haribol, Jai Prabhupada, like that. And then finally the reporters came and the devotees gave them a chance to ask questions. And they saw this reception Prabhupada got. Swamiji, what do you think of this reception? Because they thought, oh, this reception for a man is quite unheard of. Because, particularly for a renounced sadhu, why would he want people to glorify him and like a ordinary materialist? and he's deriving pleasure out of it, seemingly. So why would a renounced person do all of that? So that was their intent. So Prabhupada, he said, see, I'm not very fond of reception, but I'm not very interested about my own reception, but I want to know how people give reception to this movement. That is my concern. And then he said, the reception is actually meant for God. God has to be respected. And since I'm the representative of God, God's representative is similarly respected. It's not that I've become God. I'm giving the respect, passing on the respect to God. And then they asked, oh, is this a very special welcome that is done to you every day? And then Prabhupada, he tried to say, no, wherever I go, particularly this welcome is there. I have branches everywhere, and people, when I go there, they become very in jubilation. They do this. And then they ask this question. So what is your teaching? What do you try to teach? And Prabhupada said a beautiful answer. He said, I'm trying to teach what you have forgotten. And the devotees, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. And then the reporter, so what did I forget? What is that I forgot? So Prabhupada said, that is God. Some of you are saying there is no God. Some of you are saying God is dead. And some of you are saying God is impersonal or void. These are all nonsense. I want to teach all the nonsense people that there is God. That is my mission. Any nonsense can come to me. I shall prove that there is God. That is my Krishna consciousness movement. It is a challenge to the atheistic people. This is God. As we are sitting face to face, you can see God face to face. If you are sincere and if you are serious, that is possible. Unfortunately, you are trying to forget God. Therefore, you are embracing so many miseries of life. So, I am simply preaching that you become Krishna conscious and be happy. Don't be swayed by these nonsense waves of Maya or illusion. See how simple it is? Krishna consciousness means teaching us what we have forgotten, that which is intrinsic to us, that there is God. We can see God, Krishna, face to face. We can go back to Him. We can have all kinds of wonderful dealings with Him. But unfortunately, the atheists, the impersonalists, the voidists, they are all trying to claim, oh, God is not there, God is impersonal, God is dead. For them, it is very difficult. That is why they cannot understand Krishna in truth. So, that is why you see in this verse it is said, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, there are thousands of men, and finally, hardly one knows me in truth. So, if you see Prabhupada's mission, Prabhupada's ambition was to replace regular mundane literature with Krishna conscious transcendental literature. And he said, at least in every home, there should be one piece of Krishna conscious literature. Because he reasoned that if people read only one page, his life could be turned towards perfection. He said, if 1% of the readers become devotees, he said that will change the world. So typically, we get these advertisements in our mail, isn't it? When you open the mail box, and we get a lot of mail, and we get a lot of advertising papers full of advertisements. And typically, these advertisers know that most people they don't even read, but they also know that some people read. Some people are looking for some deals and looking for their products. So their satisfaction is when there is a 5% response. These advertisers, they are satisfied with a 5% response. But Srila Prabhupada spoke of even smaller percent, even 1%, he said. If 1% of the readers, that means if you distribute 100 books and maybe one person starts to read the book, and out of those 100 readers who read the book, 1% whom he thought could become pure devotees in response to receiving a book, which is in line with what Krishna is saying here. Out of thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So that means to make the world Krishna conscious would require that millions of pieces of transcendental literature be distributed. So the other thing to note, one devotee asked me a question. Prabhu, it is said that the path of bhakti is very easy. So sukham kartum avyayam, we are told. But then why, if it is easy, why it is difficult to understand Krishna? Krishna himself is saying. So Prabhupada actually mentions that it is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him, to know Krishna. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. So the point is, even the great demigods are confused about Krishna. Muhyanti yat surayah, mam tu veda na kaschana. No one knows me in truth. So this pure bhakti, which is followed according to Shruti Smriti Purana, the Pancharatra Vidhim Vina, it is very difficult. That is why these Gnanis and Yogis they cannot take. But it is also easy in the sense if you follow a Mahajana, Prabhupada mentions elsewhere. If you follow a Mahajana yena gatah sa pantha, it becomes very easy. Just like we are now following the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or, and as well as you have to become serious and sincere. Like there was one guru who had several disciples, very able disciples. And he also had one disciple who is not very able in his mind, not very intelligent like others, but he is very loyal, sincere to his spiritual master. So every time they would make fun of him to this disciple who is not very intelligent. So to show them a lesson, this guru conducted a small test. The test is that he gave them an exercise where they had to go to a nearby mountain and a famous mountain, and they had to climb the mountain, and they have to describe after going to the summit of the mountain, they have to come out, they come down and describe what is there on the summit, and then he will award the winner. Only my best disciple will know We'll reach that and we'll describe what is there on the summit. And then all of them, they wanted to prove that they are the best. And he also gave them instructions how to reach the summit. They all went ahead, and everybody went, including this unintelligent, so called unintelligent disciple. They all tried, they all went, they all, in their own ways, they climbed the mountain. And finally, all of them came, and then all of them seemed to have got to the summit, and they all tried to describe in their own words. And the Guru started to go through everything. And the Guru said, finally, this unintelligent disciple is the winner. And they said, how he is the winner? We didn't even see him climbing the mountain. And then the Guru called their bluff. He said, actually, none of you reached the summit. And they all understood their bluff. They all wrote, because the path they took, after some time, it became quite difficult, treacherous. And, different people got diverted in different ways. And they all thought, who would see that whether I actually climbed the mountain or not? What will be there on the top of the mountain? It'll be some trees. I'll describe some tree. My guru also would not have gone there. Some vegetation, some rocks, I'll describe in my own way. So everybody described like that, not being very sincere. And then he said, this other disciple actually said, there is a deity of Krishna there. And the king arranges special worship for the deity every day. It is a special deity for him. And and then they asked, how did he go? We didn't even see him. And the Guru said, see, you all did not even follow my instructions. And I said, when you see when you see the mountain, you go straight. But you all thought straight is going very steep. But don't worry, you follow people who are going on that path. And only the goats are going on that path. And you all thought it is very steep. And let me figure out my own way. And you all tried to follow another path that people tried to take but never could attain the top. And you could never achieve. But these goats, every day they go to the top. And this disciple just followed my order, even though there were goats going, not ordinary people. But because he had faith in my order, and the path became very simplified, even though it appeared very steep, after a while, it became the easiest of paths. And then he actually went and saw Krishna's deity was there being worshipped. So here you can see the Gnanis and Yogis. So these other disciples are considered like, just to give a parallel, the Gnanis and Yogis, they depend on their own intelligence to understand the absolute truth. And they speculate what is the absolute truth. Oh, on the summit, what is there? Oh, there is nothing, it's impersonal. There is no absolute truth as person. And they want to follow hey, this is the easiest path. I'll follow this way. Whatever that comes to their mind. There is no sincerity in their attempt. And whereas the other disciple, even though he was not very educated, very intelligent, he simply stuck to the path chalked out by Mahajana. Mahajano yenagatah sapantha. He followed the instruction. And he didn't invent his own through his so-called intelligence. Even though the path appeared very difficult, as Prabhupada is saying, Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpataya Eva Kalpate. For Gnanis and Yogis and non-devotees, if they have to follow the right path of bhakti, it's very difficult. They have to follow Smriti, Shruti, everything. For mental speculation, it is very easy for them. The real path of bhakti, it appears very steep for them. But for a devotee, because he is following the order of the spiritual master, because we are following the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and if the devotee remains sincere and serious, then the path of bhakti becomes easy. Krishna comes, Krishna sends this, in this case, the goats were guiding. Krishna will guide through the spiritual master and through many other ways so that we can progress. So, this is the reason why both statements can be reconciled. Yes, to understand Krishna, to reach the summit is very difficult. Ordinarily, it is very difficult. But if you follow the bona fide path, it is easy also. Even the great demigods, Indra, Brahma, get bewildered, as we see in the pastimes during Krishna's advent. That means to understand Krishna is not ordinary. Krishna has to reveal. Krishna will not reveal unless you submit and surrender to his pure devotee. Unless you become humble, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trunadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So one has very high opinion of oneself, isn't it? Everybody of us. We don't like to be humbled. We don't like to be considered lower. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, you have to learn to be humble. You have to learn to be submissive. You have to become the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Even Maharaj Prataparudra of Orissa, he was the king during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. And but as a menial servant, he would come and sweep in front of Lord Jagannath. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continually denied to give him audience, but the king continually kept on requesting. And finally, he got an opportunity devised by some of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come in the garb of a cowherd boy. And during the Ratha Yatra, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking rest, and you massage his feet, and he went and followed their instructions. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him, even though externally and internally he knew it was a king, but externally he said, "Oh, who are you?" And the king said, "Oh, my lord, I am just a servant of the servant of your servants." And pleased with his mentality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allowed him to massage him and gave him mercy. So it becomes easier like that. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So Prabhupada finally concludes that if one does know him, then samahatma sudurlabha, such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, he cannot know Krishna as he is, even though one is a great scholar or philosopher. Only the pure devotees can know something, even that is, know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna, and so on and so forth. Stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.